The Logan Zone. From ECU Pirate football to the whole college landscape to basically anything else that's on his mind, Coach Steve Logan's talking about it now.
You don't coach at East Carolina. You don't come to East Carolina. You don't play at East Carolina with a weak heart.
Tweet at Steve Logan Show with your takes or call 252-561-GAME for your spot in the Logan Zone. Brought to you by Bill Clark Homes, Greenville Utilities, and Bojangles. Now, here's Steve Logan.
Welcome in, everybody, to Conference Championship Week of the Logan Zone. I would tell you which week it is, but I'm going to be honest with you. I've lost count. We do have 3 shows left of the Logan Zone here. We'll be here with you today, next week, heading into the Pro Bowl, I guess, or what is left of the Pro Bowl, and then we will take you into Super Bowl Sunday as well. Before I toss it over to Coach Logan, though, I want to tell you about one of our title sponsors, and that is Bojangles. That Bojangles football season is tailgate season, and again, this year, Bojangles is a proud partner with ECU Athletics to celebrate Pirate football. No matter where you are on game day, pick up Bojangles tailgate box with all the chicken fixins, buttermilk biscuit, and fresh brewed tea hungry fans want. Remember this, Pirate Nation, when you want to step up your game day festivities, it's Bo time. And our best caller reminder does get an 8-piece tailgate box from Bojangles. Call us at 252-561-4263. We have our interns standing by ready to answer the phones. And now I'm going to toss it over to the host of the Logan Zone, Coach Steve Logan. How's it going, Coach?
I am full speed. Got my mouthpiece in, chin strap buckled, ready to go. Full pads, all right, full pad scrimmage today. I want to encourage everybody, particularly on the ride home. It's 5 o'clock. So if you're in your car, give me a buzz at 252-561-4263. I will drop everything and entertain any and all calls. I do, by the way, have a really good question from, let me get on my little X account here, from Travis Barkley. He's tweeted in a really thoughtful question that we're going to get to, and I want to just tell, in fact, I told Travis he could be the winner of the Bojangles prize package for this question because it's good. But I want to encourage everybody to jump in, give us a call. We want to do 2 hours of calls today. And we got a lot of kind of a shotgun show today, a lot of stuff going on. Just to get started, though, Philip, the portal insanity is calming down a little bit. I guess the window is closed. And I've got all kinds of one-off unintended consequences I want to get to here in front of me about the portal because we're sailing in uncharted waters, as everybody knows now. But give the East Carolina folks in particular the latest, East Carolina portal, kind of the final answer, so to speak, for this coming year. What you got going on over there?
Yeah, so the big thing that happened this week, Coach, was East Carolina landed transfer quarterback Emory Williams from Miami. This was the backup to Carson Beck. The Miami coaching staff really likes this kid. He's very talented, but he's set behind Cam Ward, number 1 overall pick in the NFL draft. He actually started 2 games as a true freshman, played pretty well, beat Clemson in overtime, lost to Florida State in a game in which they were down 7. He was driving down the field, scrambled for a first down, and broke his arm. Didn't get to finish the game. And remember, that was the Florida State team that went undefeated and was left out of the college football playoff there, the final year of the 4-team playoff in 2023. So he started some big games and played pretty well, but not too bad for a true freshman. And from what we understand happened was the coaching staff was very high on him, but they saw the way the Carson Beck thing went, bringing that young man in, and they said, you know what, we're Miami, and we've been paying guys for 30 years to play football, so why not keep paying them now? We're going to pay somebody else who has already had starting experience, so we are giving you permission to take a hike, no hard feelings, but we're just going to go with a more experienced guy. So he hit the portal, and he comes to East Carolina. There were some connections. For example, some of the guys on the coaching staff there at Miami had been with or knew the new ECU offensive coordinator really well as their current offensive coordinator at Miami was at Southern Miss when John Gilbert was at Southern Miss, which is the current athletic director at East Carolina. So there were some things going on. From what we understand, kind of in the days leading up to the championship game, though, behind the scenes, it was legal because it wasn't him speaking with East Carolina University, but these people that had these connections, the people at Miami were kind of shopping him around because they can legally shop him around. The coaching staff can. He just can't do it himself. So there was some already rumors that he may be coming to East Carolina. He has landed. The Pirates will have 4 scholarship quarterbacks next year, a true freshman, redshirt freshman Cole Hodge that did not play at all this year, Mitch Griffiths from Texas Tech, and now Emory Williams. So that's the latest news, and sorry about kind of going on there, Coach.
No, that's okay. Let me back up. So am I accurate to say that about a week ago maybe, or whatever, 10 days ago, that East Carolina landed a Texas Tech quarterback in the portal? True?
Correct. Yeah, it was the kid who was the backup this year, the number 2.
Okay, so was it kind of understood from the East Carolina viewpoint that this young man probably was going to be the backup, or was it like, hey, guess what? We get the guy from Miami, and that's just the way it fell.
So the way this kind of worked is, Caton Hauser left for the bowl game. Chasten Diddle left. Right. Raheem Jeter left. Mike Wright's out of eligibility. They were going to always bring in at least 2 quarterbacks. Like I said, they're only at 4 right now. It would be nice to have 5. Ideally, you got 5. So with that being said, they knew they were going to go out and get 2. There was they obviously had their iron in a lot of different fires. They landed the Texas Tech kid. They were always intending, and he even knew that they were going to bring in someone to compete with this young man for the job. The thing was, when I don't know if he knew that it was going to be the caliber player of somebody who was a big-time recruit that was just sitting behind the number 1 overall draft pick and then the national championship runner-up. Not sure if he knew that, but he knew when he came here there was going to be another quarterback run. I mean, you can't have 3 quarterbacks. It just doesn't work, especially when 2 of them are freshmen.
Right. Okay. Well, that's really interesting, and it'll be real interesting to see, what the Miami quarterback actually is, because as we sit here, we have a small sample size, as you mentioned, and hopefully he'll turn out, and hopefully, particularly, this is the big deal, that the new offensive coordinator's offense can accommodate the quarterback that's coming from Miami, and the quarterback that's coming from Miami can be a useful participant in the style of offense that the new offensive coordinator prefers, which, as we all know, if you watched North Texas State last year, this is old school, air raid, grass basketball, bubble screen city, not much of a run game, and that's just the truth of it. So it's a true air raid presentation, and the mobility will be interesting to see what kind of mobility this young man brings. That's always a plus, and going to be a real interesting lab experiment, as I call them. And concerning the transfer portal. Again, I've got all kinds of things I'm going to touch on here about the portal, because again, we have entered into, at the collegiate level, the land of unintended consequences. That's where we've landed. And these unintended consequences are rolling out at warp speed daily. And, everybody has got a lawyer now. Everybody's got an agent now. And, the musical chairs. In fact, I just came off of a deep dive article about all of the major players in the quarterback musical chair event that we call the transfer portal. And so it truly is a game of musical chairs. And once you followed, let's say, Sam Levitt from Arizona State, who was the real deal, man, everybody wants this guy. And I think maybe, and you correct me if I'm wrong, Philip, you follow it more closely than I do, but I believe Sam Levitt may have ended up at LSU. I'm not sure, but he was the one, and all of these other quarterbacks around the country and their agents were waiting to see where Levitt landed before the quarterbacks would commit to anything, because nobody wants to sit, and nobody wants to be the number 2 quarterback, and particularly when you're marketing yourself to go be the number 1 quarterback somewhere. You want to make sure that when you walk in the room, it's your job to lose. And so guess what? At the end of this article, by the time you followed Billy, Bobby, Susie, Jack, and Jill all over the country, he went here, she went there, this guy went there, and this guy's going over here. Guess, Philip, who right now is ending up with a quarterback room without a designated starter in the Power 4. Guess who that may be?
I'm going to go with the team who didn't recruit a quarterback in the portal because they had one under contract, and then he left at the 11th hour. And if you ask me any more questions, I'm going to get us FCC fined. So I'm throwing it back to you, Coach. Have fun.
You are correct, Amundo. It is Duke. Okay, so Duke has ended up in the quarterback portal musical chairs. They don't have a guy right now. And so, this thing has kind of dominated the headlines. The Duke, Darian Mensah is the quarterback's name, that they bought from Tulane. And he turned out to be a great buy. Why? Because they won the ACC. So that was a great job of evaluating a talent, bringing it in, plugging it into your system, and getting your money's worth, so to speak. Well, he's got another year to go on his 2-year contract. And Philip, I've heard every time I talk about this story or research this story, I can't discern whether Mensah came to Duke with $2 million a year contracts for a grand total of $4 million, or if it was $4 million for the first year and $4 million for the second year.
4 each year.
That's what I thought. Okay,
Yeah.
So we're talking right now. Darian Mensah owes contractually Duke another year of football, and Duke contractually owes Darian Mensah $4 million. Well, Darian Mensah announced he's going to the portal and he's supposedly going to Miami, but the Duke lawyers were crafty, and they didn't write into the contract that Darian Mensah couldn't transfer. They wrote into the contract that Duke University owns all of Darian Mensah's NIL money, no matter where he plays. Now, that's pretty crafty, isn't it? And so this has opened up, let me back up. You know who's the happiest industrial group in the United States of America relative to college football right now? It's not the coaches. It's not the players. It's not the administrators. The happiest group is the lawyers, because you've got a brand new field of law that has opened up, and it's basically the Wild West, because guess what? There are no precedents. And by the way, early this morning I was doing a little spot with Henry Hinton, and everybody was talking about this, and somebody said, well, Miami's going to get sued for tampering by Duke. I got news for you. Miami is currently being sued by the University of Wisconsin for this kind of activity last year. This is an active lawsuit in the judicial system as we sit here. It has not been adjudicated yet. And so once again, you can't ask yourself one question without it raising 3 more questions. And so, what is tampering? Nobody knows what tampering is, because, as I said, there are no legal precedents in place relative to college football having paid football players and contracts, but technically they're not employees. And that's always been the collegiate administrators just have been real adamant to make sure these contracts do not reflect that these players are employees, because you get into disability coverage and Social Security and all this other stuff that nobody wants to get involved with. So this is truly just, what I would call 1099 money. These are subcontractors. That's what the players are. They're subcontractors. They come in, play football, they get their money, and it's up to them to pay the taxes and everything else relative to that. So, having babbled on about this Mensa issue, I ran into, and you can go on the internet and you can see 15 lawyers now that are presenting to the public their view of the Mensa, Darian Mensa, Duke, Miami transfer situation. Everybody's got a legal opinion now, and they're just throwing it out there on the internet. One of these legal guys caught my eye, okay? And I'm just going to run down through here and just get your brain to thinking, okay? I just want everybody to listen to this, okay? So, again, to set the table, Darian Mensa has a contract at Duke. He's due. He was expected to play one more year for $4 million. The Duke lawyers wrote a crafty little contract that said you can transfer if you want to, but you cannot we're going to get any NIL money you make at any other place you play. We get it. Okay, well, here we go. This scenario leaves about 5 options available to Darian Mensa and Duke and Miami. Option number 1, Darian Mensa returns to Duke. Theoretically, this is available, but in practicality, this is a dead issue, because just imagine you're the head coach. Steve Logan, you're the head coach. You've recruited this kid, you paid this kid, you developed this kid into a draftable NFL quarterback, and he comes in and says, I'm leaving, and now the shooting match starts. I can't bring this kid back in the locker room. Can't do it. So the option number 1 of returning to Duke, I think that's dead, okay? If Mensa comes back and plays out 2026 like nothing happened, every future NIL negotiation at Duke would start and end with this issue. So the point this lawyer's making is you force Darian Mensa to come back and play, and let's say he does. All right, next year Duke needs a quarterback, and they're going to go out and try to recruit a kid and buy another quarterback. Every quarterback in the country would be very, very leery of getting involved with Duke. Why? Because they're going to make you responsible to the contract you signed. They're not going to be just like a lot of these universities where they go, hey, yeah, go on, love you, mean it. Yeah, you want to transfer, I get it, see you later. They're not doing that. And that, so this has future unintended consequences. So there's that little thought, okay? There's a contractual wrinkle. Mensa entered the portal, which triggered Duke's termination under Section 2 of the contract, okay? Duke could simply refuse to take him back, and of course the door may already be closed. But what happens if Mensa goes to Miami and plays? The enforceable part of the Duke contract says all NIL money that Mensa would make goes to Duke. So he can go, contractually, he can go to Miami and play football. But when he gets to Miami and Joe's Pizza Parlor in Miami wants to pay Darian Mensa $200,000 or whatever the case may be, that money goes back to Duke. It doesn't go to Mensa, and it doesn't go to the University of Miami. And so suddenly the University of Miami has a quarterback that they can't market. Think about this. I mean, the whole thing is getting so crazy. Let's go to option number 2. Now, this is interesting, okay? Option number 2 in this situation. Darian Mensa does what? He declares for the NFL draft. Now, okay, if I was Darian Mensa's agent, embroiled in this clown show, that might be exactly where we go, because I think Darian Mensah, as we sit here, is extremely draftable. I don't know that he's a first-round draft pick. I think he's a solid second-day pick, okay, or second-round pick, I should say. I think he's absolutely a second-round pick. He's a playmaker. He's a kid on his resume that took Duke, not Florida State, not Miami, Duke, to the ACC championship. When I was evaluating quarterbacks in the NFL, and I'm back in that business right now, as a matter of fact. I've been looking at quarterback tapes because I have to get a quarterback for the spring league that I'm involved in now. Okay? It's interesting to me to evaluate a quarterback with a team that does not have a bunch of superstars on the team. Think Bryce Young at Alabama. He's hard to evaluate. To me, he was. Why? Because I didn't see a lot of giant attributes, but I saw him win game after game after game. Who was winning the game, Bryce Young or the first-round draft picks he was surrounded by? Okay, take that thought, flip it over, and go evaluate Darian Mensah. He's not surrounded by first-round draft picks, but he's making play after play after play, and he picked a university up and a football program up on his shoulders and won an ACC championship. To me, that guy's going way up high on my list. So option number 2, and there's 3 more I'm going to get to, 3 more options. Option number 2, declare for the draft. That's a viable conversation. I hear the blues creeping in. We're going to take a break. And if you're wanting to get in on the action, 252-561-4263. Give me a call. I'll drop everything and I'll argue with you about anything. Love to hear from you. We'll take a break and be right back.
Cold weather is here, and some families in our area need help to stay warm. Greenville Utilities' Neighbor to Neighbor program provides help for those who need temporary assistance with their heating costs. You can make a difference. Your tax-deductible donation can be added to your GUC bill each month, or you can make a one-time donation. And GUC matches all donations up to $20,000 each year. Consider helping a neighbor stay warm this winter with GUC's Neighbor to Neighbor program. For more information, call 752-7166 or visit GUC.com.
It's bow time. 'Tis the season for food and family, but thanks to Bojangles, you don't have to spend hours in the kitchen when loved ones come home for the holidays. Set down the spatula and put away the mixing bowls, because this holiday season, Bojangles is ready to help you celebrate with all your family favorites like Chicken Supreme, Cajun Filet biscuits, or a big bow box of hand-breaded chicken, scratch-made biscuits, and fixins for the whole family.
At Bojangles, football season is tailgate season, and again this year Bojangles is proud to partner with ECU Athletics to celebrate Pirate football. No matter where you are on game day, pick up a Bojangles tailgate box with all the chicken, fixins, buttermilk biscuit, and fresh brewed tea hungry fans want. Remember this, Pirate Nation, when you want to step up your game day festivities, it's bow time.
Because the Carolina Legend has everything you're craving. We're talking crispy, juicy chicken loaded with real southern flavor, fluffy scratch-made buttermilk biscuits, and all the fixins to feed your whole crew faster than you could say touchdown. Order your tailgate today. It's bow time.
Guten Tag, this is meine Auto. Und this is meine key. And I only trust one place with meine key. Meine Key Car Care. They are so transparent with e-inspection, which shows photos of the problem and the fix. Meine Key is my favorite part of America. And my second favorite part? The cowboys and their horses. Remember, I only trust meine Key with meine Key. A one-stop shop for total car care.
At participating locations, meine Key locations are independently owned and operated.
As summer approaches, 2 things come to mind: baseball and warmer weather. This is Rachel Davis with Advanced Mechanical. We wanted to thank you for the trust you put in us. Before you know it, warmer temperatures will arrive, signaling summer is on the way. Don't wait. Prepare now for rising temperatures by scheduling a tune-up. Give us a call today at 252-355-9191 or visit our website, advancedmechnc.com.
Jeff Stein here at Brown & Wood Buick GMC, home of the lifetime powertrain warranty. Brown & Wood's award-winning service department is open Monday through Friday. And don't forget, we have free pickup and drop-off. Every customer, when you come in for service, heavy repair, maintenance, it doesn't matter. You get a free car wash, dry, and vacuum. We've also got Tom Brown's favorite tagline, 4 brands, 3 generations, 2 rooftops, and 1 goal to make sure you leave a happy customer.
Need to insure a boat in Edenton, a business in Elizabeth City, a car in Greenville? How about a farm truck in Mount Olive or a home on the Outer Banks? Weatherly Insurance Agency, an independent insurance agency with 6 locations in eastern North Carolina, is here to help. Weatherly Insurance Agency has agents you can get to know because they're your neighbors and live in your town. Call today, 252-756-9900 or on the web at weatherlyinsurance.com. From the Outer Banks to the Inner Banks, Weatherly Insurance has you covered.
Coach Logan's in the zone. And now, so are you. Back into the Logan Zone. Brought to you by Bill Clark Homes, Greenville Utilities, and Bojangles. On 94.3 The Game and Talk 96.3.
Welcome back into the Logan Zone here, taking you into Conference Championship Weekend. We do want to tell you about one of our sponsors and thank them, and that is Bill Clark Homes. And Bill Clark Homes has always been there for ECU, and they can continue to support year after year because Bill Clark Homes continues to build quality homes and neighborhoods in both the Greenville area and the Wilmington area. And whether it's Greenville or Wilmington, you can choose your school district with several homes under construction and available now in both markets. Eastern North Carolina's premier home builder, Bill Clark Homes, building family traditions. Also a reminder that the best caller does get an 8-piece tailgate from Bojangles. That is still on. Call us at 252-561-4263. Our lines are currently open, but while there's no callers, Coach Logan has been doing a deep dive into Darian Mensah's options as Duke is trying to sue him. So we're going to toss it back over to Coach Logan.
All righty. So I've got a couple of questions on my Twitter account, which is great, and I'm going to get to both of them. I'm going to get to one right now because it has to do with what we're talking about, the Darian Mensah drama. This is a 9-part drama, all right, that'll be on Broadway one of these days, I'm sure, folks. So anyway, I got a text or a tweet from my good friend Tom Earnhardt, and he says, any idea how many players went into the portal and didn't get taken in by a school? And what happens to those players? More unintended consequences right in front of me. I've got this. One of the agents says that he's been talking to collegiate GMs this morning. Okay? Dozens of examples of players in the portal asking if they can return to the team that they were leaving, only to discover, guess what? Their spot's been taken. So this is one more unintended consequence. There's going to be more collateral damage for kids listening to some pimp of an agent, and they are. There's a lot of pimps in this business. There's some really good men in the agent business, particularly, and again, I got so many thoughts flying in my head, I can't finish one. Okay, just talking about agents for a second. Right now, the agents at the collegiate level, it's the Wild West. I told the story just last week where a head coach at a Power 4 school was negotiating a contract with a quarterback, and the agent of the quarterback was the quarterback's dorm roommate. So you got a kid negotiating for another kid for a contract. And guess what? The kid that's doing the negotiating, who I promise you doesn't have a clue what he's really doing, They're giving these guys, these players who don't know what they're doing, they're giving these guys 15 and 20%. The NFL, the routine in the NFL. I had an agent in the NFL, okay? It happened to be Tom Brady's agent, all right? You know how much I paid him? 3%. That's the routine. And to be an agent in the NFL, you have to be certified by the NFL. You can't just be Joe off the street. You have to have credentials, legit credentials, okay? And the running fee, the normal fee in the NFL, is 3%. So what's happening to these kids that jump in the portal, don't get taken, turn around and say, hey, Steve, I want to come back and play for you. Well, hey, Jack, I got news for you. We've already filled your slot, A. B, I'm not having you back anyway. I'm really not, because there's a human element involved here, sports fans. Okay? You can't just be the benevolent, suicidal, empathetic coach, what they call suicidal empathy. I have empathy for the kid, but I'm not suicidal about it, meaning I'm going to just end up killing myself by being the good guy in this scenario and taking guys back that were trying to leave. You can't. This is hard-nosed stuff now. This is transactional. And so, yes, Mr. Tom Earnhardt, I'm answering your question. I don't have numbers, but there are large numbers of players. Let me give you a homegrown. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to come close to giving you actual names and numbers in this little war story because it's local and it's a close friend of mine that's involved, okay? This close friend of mine is coaching at a lower division level. He's a hell of a football coach. He takes a little kid that's never played quarterback, put him in, taught him how to play the position, good little player. And by little, I mean he's about 5'10.5", 5'11" tall. He can run it and he can throw it. And he became the conference player of the year. Now, I'm talking about at the FCS level. Okay? First year he'd ever played. Conference player of the year. This young man went into the portal, is transferring to a Conference USA school, which is the lowest Division I conference that there is out there. Okay? Philip, tell me somebody that's in Conference USA real quick. Give me a college name.
UTEP.
UTEP. Got it. Okay, perfect. That's what we're talking about here. This kid transferred into that level because one of these schools bought him. Now listen to this. This young man came in and told my good friend who had just developed him, taught him how to play the game, and made him the conference player of the year. This young man came into him. This is how ignorant the agents and the players, the kids are. This kid said to my friend, Coach, I'm transferring. And my friend said, well, how much did they pay you? The kid said to my friend, Coach, it's life-changing money. Oh, really? How much? $90,000. I just got to let that hang there for everybody to wrap their brain around it. You got a 19-year-old kid that just said to somebody that $90,000 is going to change his life. Let's do some quick math, little Johnny. You're going to get a 1099 form next year that you made $90,000. 25 grand is gone to taxes. We're down to 65. And because you really are an idiot, okay, you gave 15%, maybe 20% to whoever you think is your agent. That 65 just turned into maybe $6,000, $60,000. And you know what you're going to do? You're going to go out and buy a used hot rod car, and the 60 grand is gone. Not only that, this young man agreed to go for $90,000 as the backup quarterback. Folks, Like my dad would say, he's been to 2 goat ropings and a county fair. That just about takes everything right there. That's a true story. It happened just a month ago. And if I was sitting there and I had a young man say that to me, I believe I would slap him naked and hide his clothes as he walked out the door. Okay, I got to calm down because, see, I'm getting emotionally involved here. So we got a caller, and that would be Tim. Tim, you're in the Logan Zone. What's up?
Good evening, Coach. First of all, congratulations on your return to football, and wanted to wish you the best of luck.
Thank you so much, and I want you to immediately put in for me and deliver it to my door a new prescription of Prozac because I'm going to need it. I can't believe I did this. But anyway, we're off and running, and it's too late now. What do you got?
Okay, so I got a quick little war story for you. So I graduated from East Carolina in 99, and I don't remember if it's 1998 or 99, but you had mentioned Andrew Bayes last show. In our sociology class, we had to give a presentation, and Andrew Bayes happened to be in my class, and he wanted to demonstrate the execution of a punt. So he had, I want to say Ryan Luckadoo, but not sure the guy's name. He had red hair, but he was a
That's true. That was his long snapper. Yes.
Okay, so it was, and the funny thing about it is he was kind of sideways in the classroom, and he said, now this isn't the right distance. I'm a little bit closer than I would be out on the ball field. And so here it goes. So the long snapper thought he said hike, and it hit Andrew right in the chest and knocked the wind out of him. He wasn't prepared for the snap because he was telling us how you would be holding a stopwatch, Coach, and making sure the execution was done properly. So it's kind of a funny story, but if you could add to that and just kind of talk about how many, say, seconds you have in getting off, the punt, and then secondly, if you could, you kind of had me more interested in watching line play recently, not just the skill positions. So could you write down a couple names for me that these guys I went to school with at ECU and kind of tell me what makes a good offensive versus defensive lineman? And in particular, Brian Remph, Dwayne Ledford, Rod Coleman, and Devon Claybrooks, and Norris McCleary. And if I remember correctly, those guys were either the 49ers, Buccaneers, what have you. So I'll go ahead and hang up, and I appreciate you giving me your thoughts on the situation. Best of luck coaching this spring.
Thank you so much. I'm going to tell you what, you've opened up Pandora's box in my brain because, dang, I can't believe you remember all those names. But let's get to the punt team, okay? So this is good for, I'm convinced the only people that actually listen to this show are true football, like deep dive fans, okay? This is not roadkill radio, so I'm not the guy you want to listen to if you want to call in and tell everybody that Dave Canales is an idiot, the head coach of the Panthers. Well, he's not. He's not. He's an incredibly bright man and a heck of a football coach, okay? So this isn't the call, and you can't call in here and start telling me that Bryce Young is an idiot. I call that roadkill radio. This show, okay, and I'm tickled to death that you asked about the punt operation because 99.9% of the fans sitting in the stands don't know come here from Sikkim about what's involved in putting a punt team on the field that can actually execute. Ask Miami University. It just cost them a national championship, sports fans, the punt team. Okay? So you're really getting me wound up now because I was on the phone with my head coach, Chris Redmond, this week. And we were discussing because, we're putting a staff together. We're putting a team together. We're getting ready to go play AAA professional football against other really good coaches and really good athletes. Okay? And one of the first questions I asked Chris, did you get who you got for special teams? Who's going, do we have a long snapper? What's that's the very first question I asked Chris Redmond. He's never been a head coach before, okay? And so the punt team, get me started, buddy. Okay, so let's talk about the punt team. when you go recruiting, and this is one of the things I used to do in the Steve Logan football camp at East Carolina, we would have about 2,000 kids come in, and I would walk around to all these kids while all the other coaches were coaching. And Steve Logan would walk around the camp, and I would ask almost every camper, have you ever long snapped? And 80% of them, 90% of them would say no. But when one of them said yes, I said, you come with me, okay? And I can't remember the young man's name that I pulled out of one of my camps that long snapped for me for 4 years. 4 years. Here's what you do. I took the young man over, and I got somebody, and I set them at 15 yards. I bent this young man over and gave him a football, and I said, snap the ball back here to this guy that's standing here 15 yards away from you. The moment you snap it, I'm going to start my stopwatch. Boom. He snapped it. Boom. The moment that ball hits the punter's hands, you stop the stopwatch. Here's what you're looking for. At the very least, that ball has got to travel from the center's hands to the punter's hands in 0.80 seconds. If it's anything faster than that, you've struck a gold mine. This young man, I did this 2 or 3 times, but this one particular young man threw the ball back there, and I hit my stopwatch, bang, bang. I looked at my stopwatch, you know what it said? 0.72. I said, here, do that again. Back the ball came, boom, I hit my stopwatch, 0.71. Do it again, boom, hit my stopwatch, 0.73. This kid was throwing that football back under 0.80 seconds. And I grabbed a hold of him and I said, you come with me. I took him up to my office and I called his parents. He was a senior, okay, getting ready to be a senior. I called his, and he played, I don't know what he played. He played defensive end for the high school, right? Wherever he was a North Carolina kid, I remember that. And I called his parents, and I told them, I said, I need you to come up to the camp whenever it's checkout time. Well, they came to the camp, they came to the office. I sat the kid down, and I said, you are going to be a full scholarship football player for the next 4 years. You're going to be my long snapper. I'm going to pay for your education, room, books, board, tuition, everything. And your goal is to make sure that nobody ever knows your name. Because the only time you know the long snapper's name is when it's inaccurate and all hell breaks loose. Hold all of that part of the story. Now, the punt operation. You've got to snap the football to your punter. The punter must catch the football, and then the moment that ball hits the punter's hands, you start another stopwatch. And a punter has got to receive the ball the moment it hits his hands until the ball is gone from his foot. You've got a 2-step punter. You can't be a 3-stepper. You got to be a 2-step punter, and that ball's got to hit your hands when you receive it, and the ball goes off of your foot in 1.2 seconds or less. The point is this: the punt operation, in total, you allow 2.0 seconds from snap to punt. Anything longer than that, you're going to get the punt blocked. It's got to be 2.0 or under. Ryan Luckadoo, for instance, who was Andrew Bay's long snapper. All right? Those two men were getting my punts off routinely at 1.88 and 1.91, right in that area. I don't think Andrew Bayes ever had a punt blocked. I don't think he did. So, the punt operation. Everybody got a whole free coaches clinic. There are guys that pay to go to listen to special teams coaches and learn how to block and, execute a punt operation. All right? And we haven't even talked about the protection necessary and the techniques that are necessary. It's called a kick slide that the offensive line uses for the punt team to protect the punter who's getting the punt off in less than 2.0 seconds. And we haven't even talked about the PAT field goal. You want to know how long you've got to get a PAT field goal snapped and kicked? 1.2. It's got to be below 1.2, or people coming off the outside of the edge of your PAT field goal team, they will block the kick. Whew. See, I got upset just thinking about a blocked punt. The moment Miami got that punt blocked the other night in the national championship game, my wife and I were watching the game, and I said, Indiana just won the national championship. You know what the final score was? The spread? 1 touchdown. When you get a punt blocked for a touchdown, okay, you get a punt blocked, your chances of winning plummet. Check out the analytics. All right, give me a call if you're brave enough, 252-561-4263. I'll take on anything, including the punt team. We're going to take a break. We'll be right back.
There is a special place where innovation and breakthroughs happen, where childlike wonder meets the best of medicine, and where a world-class children's hospital offers hope and healing for Eastern North Carolina. This is Maynard Children's Hospital, where some of the brightest minds and most caring hearts provide the best for your child. Maynard Children's Hospital, for every child and every family.
Have you been to Jaggers on Memorial Drive yet? I'm a regular at Jaggers, and let me tell you, if you want fresh, not frozen, you need to come to Jaggers. Burgers, chicken sandwiches, all sorts of salads, and the shoestring fries. Oh, I love those shoestring fries. My favorite is the Berry Fresh Grilled Chicken Salad, one of the best salads I've ever had. My grandkids love the burgers and fries and the chicken tenders with the awesome honey mustard and ranch. Everything is fresh at Jaggers. They don't cut any corners. Jaggers on Memorial Drive in Greenville. Also now open in Fayetteville.
Want a straighter smile without the hassle of metal braces? At Doctors Bowman Paget and Associates, they make it easy with Invisalign, the clear, comfortable, and virtually invisible way to align your teeth. As a Gold Plus Invisalign provider, their experienced team has helped hundreds of patients. Smile with confidence and see real results without brackets or wires. Call today to schedule your free Invisalign consultation. Your perfect smile is just a call away. 252-752-1111. Doctors Bowman Paget and Associates. Your smile is our passion.
Turn your car into cash with an instant Kelley Blue Book offer from Barber Hendrick Honda in Greenville. Go online to barberhendrickhonda.com to value your trade, explore inventory, and apply for financing, all from the comfort of home. At Barber Hendrick Honda, we have great deals on new inventory and an extensive used inventory that includes all makes and models. Schedule service for your vehicle online and take advantage of our monthly specials. Barber Hendrick Honda, a proud member of the Eastern North Carolina community at the point of Greenville Boulevard and Memorial Drive.
Your vehicle packs a load of safety features to protect you in an accident. At North Carolina Farm Bureau Insurance, it's our job to protect you just as well after an accident. With fast claim service from local agents, our auto coverage is a lot like an airbag. We hope you never need to use it, but we're right there and ready just in case you do. North Carolina Farm Bureau Insurance. Helping you is what we do best.
In Greenville, contact your local Farm Bureau agent for a quote for your car, home, life, or your health. You'll be working with neighbors you can trust. People like Lynn Sugg, Justin Batts, or Austin Shackelford today. These agents are dedicated to protecting your family and your dreams. These Farm Bureau agents are knowledgeable in a wide range of insurance products, but they are tuned in to the Greenville community. Again, contact Lynn Sugg, Justin Batts, or Austin Shackelford today at Farm Bureau Insurance in Greenville at 252-756-3165. That's 252-756-3165.
North Carolina Farm Bureau Mutual Insurance Company, Farm Bureau Insurance of North Carolina, Inc., Southern Farm Bureau Life Insurance Company, an independent licensee of the Blue Cross and Blue Shield Association.
I want to take a minute here to tell you about Bill Clark Homes. The football stadium, the baseball stadium, the Pirate Club, whatever it is, Bill Clark Homes has always been there for ECU. The reason they can do all of this is because Bill Clark Homes continues to build quality homes and neighborhoods in both the Greenville area and in the Wilmington area. And whether it's Greenville or Wilmington, you can choose your school district with several homes under construction and available now in both markets. Eastern North Carolina's premier home builder, Bill Clark Homes, building family traditions.
Coach Logan's in the zone. And now, so are you. Back into the Logan Zone. Brought to you by Bill Clark Homes, Greenville Utilities, and Bojangles. On 94.3 The Game and Talk 96.3.
Welcome back into the Logan Zone here. Just over an hour left in the show, but we do have a shorter segment here leading into the top of the hour break. So quickly, I'm going to get it back over to Coach Logan and our next caller, which is Bob. So take it away, Coach.
Bob, you're in the Logan Zone. Hit me quick, man. We got about 5 minutes.
All right, I'll make it quick. Coach, you were obviously offensive-minded coach, head coach for years, and then offensive coordinator. Tell us about the pros and cons if you were getting into coaching or you're giving somebody advice as an offensive coordinator, the pros and cons of coaching under a defensive-minded head coach, or an offensive-minded head coach. Because I feel like the defensive head coach doesn't want you to do too much, and they want to win the game 16-13. And then the offensive-minded coach could be giving you advice or asking you to do things and not letting you run the ship by yourself. So I just wanted to get your thoughts on which you would rather coach for, an offensive-minded head coach or a defensive-minded head coach.
Bob, that is really, really a good question, and it exists existentially. That means over and over and over and non-ending in the coaching profession. It is a discussion that all assistant coaches have had, particularly coordinators, okay? And I will tell you this, there is a definite culture shift when you're in a building where there is a defensive head coach versus an offensive head coach. It's a completely different culture. I've been in both buildings, and I can, I'm talking in generalities here. There are exceptions to everything, but let me put it to you this way. Very, very few offensive coaches, an offensive head coach, very few offensive head coaches have gone into the defensive coordinator's room and told him, hey, I want you to put this blitz in. Hey, I want you to blitz on first down. Hey, I want you to drop 8 into coverage, and I want this, and I want you to do that. And very few offensive coaches will go in and interfere with their defensive coordinator. Very few. On the flip side, every defensive coach I've been around that has been the head coach will come in the offensive room and say, hey, I want you to put this play in. Well, head coach, why do you want me to put that play in? Because I've had a hard time stopping it over the years. Well, I got news for you. That play, it's a good football play. There are millions of good football plays, but that particular football play you want me to put in has no relevance to what it is we're trying to present. There's not a thread of identity in that particular play or succession of plays that you continually want me to put in. I don't care. I'm the head coach. Put it in. Okay, we'll put it in. And when we put it in and it blows up like everybody knew it would in the offensive room, guess whose fault it is? The offensive coordinator, because you didn't make it work. No matter how off the wall and totally disconnected it may be. I've seen it, I've experienced it, and it is a bitter place to work. Now, I gave you 2 general things that happen. In the meantime, I worked for Bill Lewis, who was a defensive head coach at East Carolina, and he never did that. Never. And I loved him and love him to this day for that. We were never particularly close, personally, but professionally, it was beautiful. The last time I coached, which was basically in the UFL in Birmingham, I worked for a man named Tim Lewis, who was a secondary coach at the San Francisco 49ers when I was the quarterback coach. This is how we met. And when he secured the head coaching job in the UFL, basically the UFL of the Birmingham franchise, he hired me as the offensive coordinator. And Tim Lewis never, ever came into the offensive side of the building. Because it takes wisdom and it takes confidence. You want to know what I had? Basically 2 defensive coordinators in my 10, 11 years as a head coach at East Carolina. A guy named Paul Jett, and he was my defense coordinator for, 6, 7 years. And then the last 3, 4 years, maybe whatever it was a man named Tim Rose. I hired Paul Jett, and here's what I asked him. Please, God, stop somebody. And the only time I stuck my head in the defensive staff room when Paul's was the defense coordinator for me, I stuck my head in there every Monday morning. I'd stick my head in, and he'd be having his little staff meeting. They'd be watching film, and I'd watched both sides of the football, but I'd stick my head in the defensive coordinator's room, Paul Jett, and I'd stick my head in Monday morning, and I'd say, hey, Paul, how many points do I need to score this week? Sometimes he'd say, hey, Steve, go get 24, and we're good. Sometimes I'd stick my head in there, and he'd say, you better crank that mother up and get about 35 because these guys are really good. That's all I needed to know. I trusted my hiring, and I gave him complete autonomy. And as long as he produced, I never bothered him. I used to tell my coaches, you don't want me in your room. You don't want me in your drill. If you see me begin to come in your room or see me begin to come into your drills, get your resume ready. I didn't hire you for me to come help you figure out the linebackers or the offensive line or anybody else. I hired you because you're an expert. The last 3 to 4 years at East Carolina, Tim Rose was my defensive coordinator. Same thing. I'd say, Tim, how many do I need to score this week? Just give me a number, dude. And he'd give me a number, and it would kind of give me a mindset of how I needed to behave on where I was a supposed expert. Or my strength, I should say, was what? Scoring points. But I can tell you that defensive head coaches meddle with offensive head coaches way more than offensive head coaches meddle with defensive head coaches. I can tell you that for a fact. Here's the best you can hope for if you're an assistant coach. You want somebody to hire you, trust you, and if you're getting the job done, they leave you alone. Maybe they give you a raise. That's the best you can hope for. Okay? And what travels with that is you get hired and things don't go well. You should expect to get fired if you have autonomy. That's a fair and square deal, and that's all I ever wished as an assistant coach. I'll let that marinate for everybody. Give me a call, 252-561-4263. I want to get back to what Bob said when we get back. You want to know the difference between offensive and defensive linemen and how you kind of discern which way to place those guys. And in the meantime, I've got another couple of really good tweets, questions to get to that I'm going to get to. So y'all stay tuned. We'll be right back.
It's bow time. We know there's a lot of breakfast sandwiches out there, but only Bojangles has the legendary Cajun Filet Biscuit. Shake things up with a boldly seasoned chicken breast on a fluffy, made-from-scratch biscuit with bow rounds and your choice of drink. So when you're craving something bold, something different, something that takes breakfast to a whole new level, the Cajun Filet Biscuit is waiting for you, along with crispy bow rounds and a drink. Order in the app or at Bojangles today. It's bow time.
What makes 1 hour heating and air different?
Always on time or you don't pay time.
Smart homeowners know that proper maintenance of their home's heater system can save a bundle in the long run. Trust our comfort specialists at 1 Hour Heating and Air Conditioning of Greenville to keep your heater running right. Whether you've got a furnace or any other type of heating system, a proactive tune-up prevents problems before you're in the cold. In the Pitt County area, call the heating and air conditioning company that you can trust. 1 Hour Heating and Air of Greenville, 252-515-7778. That's 252-515-7778. Or online at onehourheatingandair.com. You can depend on our highly skilled, clean, and friendly technicians, and our straightforward pricing guide, and our on-time guarantee.
Always on time or you don't pay time.
1 Hour Heating and Air of Greenville.
Medlin Chevrolet is your trusted Ayden dealership. Medlin Chevrolet has made their home in Ayden, serving Pitt, Lenore, and surrounding areas for 7 years. We're growing. Now under construction is our brand new service facility to serve you even better. Try our service department for your work trucks, fleet, and personal vehicles, and you'll be with us for life. Our staff are courteous, service-minded professionals that answer the phones themselves and walk you through your purchase or service journey. Find the perfect vehicle for your lifestyle today at Medlin Chevrolet, Monday through Saturday, Highway 11, Ayden.
At Bailey's, love not only sparkles, but it also gives back. Hi, I'm Marcy Bailey. Yes, we have high-quality certified diamonds that fit your budget. But did you know that when you say I do with an engagement ring from Bailey's, a donation is made to the food bank to help feed a local family of 4 for an entire month? Celebrate your love with Bailey's, where every diamond helps create a brighter future. Bailey's Fine Jewelry, voted the best place to buy your diamond.
Your roof has seen its better days. During a really hard rain, you get a leak. Call a roofing contractor, and before they even look at it, they say you need a new roof. Maybe you do, or maybe it can be repaired and last for a few more years. Whichever the case, Langley Contracting will give you an honest assessment, whether it's commercial or residential. Langley will get the job done with their own employees, not a collection of subcontractors. So you know they have much better control over the quality of your roof. That's why you get a 25-year warranty. So whether it's roofing or gutter installation, call the professionals at Langley Contracting. Easy number to remember, 252-214-ROOF. That's 214-ROOF. Langley Contracting, 214-ROOF. That's Langley Contracting and Roofing, 252-214-ROOF.
This is WRHD, Farmville, Greenville. Powered by the Ritchie Law Firm Injury Lawyers. Ritchie Law is on top of it. Go to ritchielaw.com. That's ritchielaw.com.
And now, you just crossed over into the Logan Zone. From ECU Pirate football to the whole college landscape to basically anything else that's on his mind, Coach Steve Logan's talking about it now.
You don't coach at East Carolina. You don't come to East Carolina. You don't play at East Carolina with a weak heart.
Tweet at Steve Logan Show with your takes or call 252-561-GAME for your spot in the Logan Zone. Brought to you by Bill Clark Homes, Greenville Utilities, and Bojangles. Now, here's Steve Logan.
Welcome back into hour 2 of the Logan Zone. We'll call it the second half of the Logan Zone here in this conference championship weekend in the NFL. And we do want to tell you about one of our title sponsors, and that is Greenville Utilities. Even though Greenville Utilities has a reliability rate of more than 99.99%, sometimes outages happen. Just like in football, you need to have a plan for what to do just in case. Right now, grab your cell phones, open the contacts list, and add GUC's emergency hotline as a contact. Here's the number to use, 1-855-767-2482. That's 855-SOS-2-GUC. Plan on using that instead of fumbling around when the lights go out. And hey, with all the ice we have coming this weekend, hopefully it goes well, but might not be a bad idea. And now we're going to toss it back over to Coach Logan. He's got a few things he wants to get into as it relates to the offensive line and the defensive line and how to position those young men, as there are multiple different positions and they're all different body types. And, Coach, they're all different skill sets, aren't they?
They certainly are different skill sets, and Bob was asking about that at the tail end of his when he got me off into a punting clinic. But, the names he mentioned, man, did that bring back some memories. Brian Remp, Dwayne Ledford, Rod Coleman, Devon Claybrooks, and Norris McCleary, all these young men. And that this gets back, those 4 names right there are just 4 examples of the sea change that has taken place since I left East Carolina. All of those men played pro football. All of those men played the game with their hand on the ground. And that's been the biggest difference for the AAC level of schools. You can't get those kids anymore. They're so I've said this over and over. If I do somehow stumble into heaven, I'm marching up to God, and I'm going to ask him why he made so many running backs, wideouts, and defensive backs, and not enough offensive and defensive linemen. They are so precious to acquire and secure and get into your program and then develop them. That it's the gold standard. That's what makes your football teams good, medium, or bad. It's in the trenches. It'll never change. You look at the Indiana-Miami football game that we just witnessed Monday night. Let me tell you something. That was big boy football up front on both offensive lines and both defensive lines. That's why they were in the national championship. But the question was, how do you discern, where to place these guys when they come into your program? For instance, a guy like Brian Remph, we recruited Brian out of Raleigh. Brian came to us, and he was a big, strong young man. And we did know that he was an offensive lineman off the bat. Why? Because if you take a big, strong young man and put him in what's called an Oklahoma drill, what is that? An Oklahoma drill is the old drill you see where the coaches lay down two dummies, bags on either side. You put a man down in a three-point stance and another man down in a three-point stance, and on the snap of the football, these two guys are going to hit each other. One is supposedly playing defense. The other is supposedly playing offense. And you put a running back behind one of these men that's in this little trench warfare, okay? If you see a young man explode into another young man and a running back is coming toward this defender and he's able to discard the blocker, disengage from the blocker, get off the block, and tackle the running back, you then have a chance to make that man a defensive lineman. Okay? If I had put Brian Remph on the defensive side of the ball, he could have exploded into an offensive blocker, probably created a stalemate, but he would not get off the block. Okay, so there's your difference maker right there. Who can get off of these blocks? Let's flip that over. If I put Brian Remph in an Oklahoma drill, and I had him blocking one guy, straight head up on him, Brian Remph could engulf. First of all, he could explode into this guy, get movement, and then stick to this guy like Velcro. So there's a lot of change of direction that goes on in these one-on-one matchups in the offensive and defensive lines. And if you find a guy that can explode into somebody and stay on the block, that's your offensive lineman. So it doesn't take very long to discern. If you didn't have any idea, this is exactly where you would and how you would do it. You would get these guys and put them in an Oklahoma drill, and off you would go. But, Brian Remph came to us, and I think Brian went to the Baltimore Ravens and enjoyed I think Brian may have played 8 or 9 years in the National Football League. What a wonderful football player he was for us, and a great young man too. Dwayne Ledford. Now, Dwayne's an interesting story because Dwayne played defensive line for me for 3 years, and he was adequate. Okay, very good college football player. I've told this story before. I brought Dwayne Ledford in beginning of his senior year, and I said, Dwayne, you're getting ready to hate me for the rest of your life. He said, why? I said, because I'm going to hand you to our offensive line coach, Coach Shankwaller, who's still there at East Carolina. And Coach Shank's going to make you our left tackle. And Dwayne got all mad at me, left the office, went down to the offensive line room, and Coach Shank made him a left tackle, and Dwayne Ledford played about 7 or 8 years in the National Football League on the offensive line. And Dwayne was so valuable in the NFL for this reason. He was a little bit undersized, but he was in the NFL and the UFL, which is what I'm in right now. We will carry 7 offensive linemen on game day. Well, when you only got 7 offensive linemen on game day, you got your starting 5 and you got 2 more. And those 2 guys have to be able to play either center guard or guard tackle, so that when you have an injury, you can at least piece together another offensive line to finish the football game. Guess what Dwayne Ledford could do? He could play center, guard, or tackle and get the San Francisco 49ers, which is where he spent a lot of his career, out of a football game without any blow-ups. Do you know how valuable that is? So Dwayne Ledford was an offensive lineman. Rod Coleman, he was a defensive lineman. You couldn't block Rod Coleman. Nobody blocked Rod Coleman in college. He went off into the NFL, and I believe spent the majority of his career, a long career, as an edge rusher for the Atlanta Falcons. What a great football player. And you go to Devon Claybrooks, same guy, comes in. He could play what's called the 3 technique, the defensive line, and you line up over the guard, and he could destroy the middle of an offensive line. And he played pro football 2 or 3 years. Norris McCleary, same thing. Norris came to us and played defensive line for us and went to the Kansas City Chiefs and played, I think, 3 years. And that's the difference. You just don't see those kinds of young men, those kinds of bodies come. Those guys don't come out of the American Athletic Conference anymore. They just don't. Do your research, okay? If they're playing that well, or if they're that big, that strong, the portal's going to suck them right up in and out. They're gone. They're not going to be there. And that's the toughest thing to do. If you're coaching, like I say, Conference USA, American Athletic Conference, the Mountain West, this is where the great divide is the trenches. Those guys, that's why, in fact, I'm talking with these Power 4 general managers. The University of Virginia pays all of their backup offensive linemen $300,000 a year. That's for the backup offensive lineman. So do you see how valuable it is? This is, those are some hard numbers, hard truth, hard fact about, offensive and defensive linemen and how you can discern. If you just didn't know, you would put them in an Oklahoma drill and you'd find out pretty quick. And then, of course, you put them in scrimmages. And you find out a young man, Lamont, I almost remembered his name, Lamont, whatever, came to us from Winston-Salem. And we thought he was a defensive football player. I remember I recruited him personally. I saw him running down on a kickoff. That's all he did in high school. But he was 6'5" and weighed 210 pounds. And Lamont came in, and we put him in the weight room, and he came out his redshirt freshman year. We put him at, I thought he was going to be a linebacker. And he could not get off a block. Well, we put him at edge rusher because he's 6'5", about 230, and could run. Boy, could he run. That's why I recruited him. All he did is run down on the kickoff in high school, but I saw this long, lean athlete flying down the field, and he didn't even start for his high school football team. I gave that kid a scholarship, and I said, you just come with me, and I'll develop you into something. And Lamont came in. And first year we tried him at linebacker, couldn't get off the block. We put him at edge rusher, couldn't quite get to the quarterback. He kept eating and kept growing in the weight room, okay? And suddenly Lamont weighed about 270, and we put him at defensive tackle, couldn't get off a block. All of a sudden Lamont weighed about 300 pounds his redshirt sophomore year. And what in football they say the last stop, before the bus stop is the offensive line. Okay? And so I take Lamont and gave him to Coach Jagosinski and said, here you go. Here's another one. See what you can do with him. Lamont started at right guard for us, and eventually, by the time he graduated, weighed 330 pounds, and he could run like a gazelle. And Lamont goes to the New York Jets and plays for 3 or 4 years. But the point is, he had a defensive line body, but he was a what I call an active player. You need to be a reactive player to play on defense because you don't know what's going to happen at the snap of the football. Some guys, Brian Remp, Lamont, okay, you give them an assignment in the huddle, and they get to go, and on the snap of the football, they know where they're headed. They know what their assignment is, and they're great football players. But they have a different DNA, okay? The defensive kids are reactive. They can make what's called in-flight adjustments quickly. The offensive kids come out of the huddle. They're secure in the knowledge of who and where they're headed. and they can go there and hopefully get the job done for you. So there's your little coaching clinic on offensive and defensive linemen. And Bob, I appreciate that's a great couple of questions that you asked, and you produced a coaching clinic. So there you go. All right. So I do want to finish up. For those of you just now tuning in, I started the program off talking about this Darian Mensah thing over at Duke because it's national news and it's fascinating. It's intriguing to watch. Okay. So we talked about I've got a lawyer's interpretation of all the legalities of it. But real quickly to recap, we got through option 1 for Darian Mensah is to return to Duke, and we commented about that, and basically that ain't happening because how can you have a kid wants to leave and you bring him back into your locker room? Can't force him to play. Number 2, I thought this was an intriguing option, declare for the NFL draft, and we went through that. Option 3, we're going to get to that. I hear the blues creeping in, but we're going to take a break. But option 3, think about this. Since Duke holds all of his rights and they're not going to let him go for nothing, the third option for this young man is what? Sit out. He may just sit out a year. And then the contract expires, and then off into the wild blue yonder he goes. But there's a lot of strings attached to that. And we'll get into that as soon as we get back right after this break. If you want to jump in on the show, 252-561-4263. I've got a couple of Twitter questions I'm going to get to, but I do want to get through this Darian Mensah thing because to me it's just fascinating. And like I say, the happiest guys in the world, the lawyers. They're having a ball with this, man, because they get to charge how much? $2,000 an hour? Good gig. All right, take a break.
Bet365 is paying out before the final whistle.
Check out Bet365's unrivaled early payout offer. When you bet on a team to win and they take a 17-point lead, you get paid no matter the final score. Forget the final whistle and start counting that cash. Hold up. You get early payout on parlays, too.
Download the app and see why it's never ordinary at Bet365. Gambling problem? Call 1-877-718-5543 or visit morethanagame.nc.gov. Must be physically located in North Carolina. T&Cs apply.
If you need gravel for your driveway, parking lot, or any commercial or residential setting, you need to call AA Hauling. DR Alleygood and AA Hauling get rave reviews all over Eastern Carolina. Ted Carawan in Beaufort County chose AA after getting other estimates, and he says he's glad he did.
DR come down, very, very professional. Gave me a couple of options, like 4 different options of price, and told me to think about it. Call somebody else if you want to. And I did exactly that. I called somebody else. They came out very unprofessional, and they couldn't beat DR's price to start with. So I called DR and says, I'd like to do it.
Ted, how do you feel about choosing AA Hauling?
Good job. Very happy. Happy with the price. Happy with the job that was done and with the way that they did it.
For a free on-site estimate, call DR Alleygood at AA Hauling at 252-946-1227. That's 252-946-1227.
Jeff Stein here at Brown & Wood Buick GMC, home of the lifetime powertrain warranty. Brown & Wood's award-winning service department is open Monday through Friday. And don't forget, we have free pickup and drop-off. Every customer, when you come in for service, heavy repair, maintenance, it doesn't matter. You get a free car wash, dry, and vacuum. We've also got Tom Brown's favorite tagline, 4 brands, 3 generations, 2 rooftops, and 1 goal to make sure you leave a happy customer.
If your heater AC is in need of repair, call Comfort Master. We'll be right there, Comfort Master. Call Comfort Master. That's 252-752-1779. Call Comfort Master. Call Comfort Master.
Service you can trust. Comfort Master's been serving Eastern North Carolina for over 15 years. Utilizing Carrier's unsurpassed quality along with years of combined experience in commercial and residential installations, you can feel confident in allowing Comfort Master to install your new Carrier system. Servicing all of Eastern North Carolina with experienced techs and part runners to allow for quicker repairs. Online at ComfortMasterNC.com and on Facebook.
Call Comfort Master.
Comfort Master and Carrier. Turn to the experts.
home, relax. TFS, time financing. TFS, time financing. TFS, living boy, we're relaxed.
Find your local branch or apply online today at timefinancing.com.
All loans subject to the current credit policy of Time Financing Service.
Coach Logan's in the zone. And now, so are you. Back into the Logan Zone. Brought to you by Bill Clark Homes, Greenville Utilities, and Bojangles. On 94.3 The Game and Talk 96.3.
Welcome back into Conference Championship Week of the Logan Zone. Coach Logan's taking a deep dive into the portal. Remember, our phone lines are still open at 252-561-4263. Best caller gets an 8-piece tailgate from Bojangles. And Coach Logan is doing a deep dive into the Darian Mensah situation as Duke is taking Darian to court. So take it away, Coach.
All right, back. I just had I couldn't, when I was talking about the long snapper that I took out of my football camp and gave him a full scholarship, I couldn't remember his name, but I've got a good friend that texted me. That was Jason Shell from 1994 to 1997. He was our long snapper and never had a bad snap, literally never had a bad snap. And Lamont, whose last name I couldn't remember, was Lamont Burns. And Lamont came in and grew, and we kept moving him around till finally he found a home at right guard. And, brother, let me tell you what, when we found him his home, he was a football-playing Jesse, one of my favorites, Lamont Burns. Things are, all of a sudden that's been 450 years ago. I can't even remember what I had for breakfast. But anyway, real quickly, to recap, I'm going to get through this because it's fascinating to me, this lawsuit that Duke finds itself in, suing their own quarterback. Okay, and it's become, option one we've talked about. He could return to Duke. I don't think that's possible. Option two, he could declare for the NFL draft. I think that may be where this could end up. Option three, he could sit out and just let that contract expire. And then that's an interest. Now, if I was his agent, we'd really be talking about that for this reason. If Darian Mensah sat out with the resume he's got right now, and he's got one more year left, and we all know now that everybody's willing to take a quarterback for 1 year. If Darian Mensah sat out and let his contract expire, okay, what do you think somebody would pay for him next year? Not this coming year, but the year after that, to come and be a 1 year, one-and-done starting quarterback for their football team? I think you're talking about $6, $7, $8 million now. Okay, talking about $7 or $8 million. The fourth option for Darian would be to transfer without an NIL, which that ain't going to happen. He's going to want some money somewhere. And the fifth option is to negotiate a buyout. And that could be where things end up being as well. Because, folks, let me tell you something. $4 million, that ain't no joke now. There's some serious money and serious interest, and there'll be a lot of hands trying to stick their grubby little fingers into that pie to get some of that $4 million. So that's going to be interesting to see what happens. So there's that. All right, real quickly, we got a caller on the line, and that will be Dwight. Dwight, you're in the Logan Zone. What's up, man?
Hey, Coach. Listen, for years I used to love to watch BYU and how they attack that area behind the linebackers in front of the safeties. And they had great players, Todd Christensen, some of those guys. But nowadays, with the deep rub routes and 4 verticals, everybody's looking for grass. I think the area that's still open is 3 feet in the back of the end zone from one side to the other. That area is so difficult for a 6'5" receiver going up against a DB. It seems like you can almost make a living on the back of that end zone and how to attack that. I just wondered about your thoughts on it.
Okay, Dwight, that's a good question, and you're talking about some technical football. And it just so happens that the coaching staff that I've just joined, we just had our draft this last week. And our general manager and our head coach, they were asking me, hey, Steve, Tell us what we're looking for. What kind of an offensive receiving room are you trying to put together? And I gave them my wish list. And it begins with just what you were talking about. I want my X receiver. In the old days, we would call that guy the split end. Okay? The X receiver, I want him 6'4" plus for red zone work and 50-50 balls. You mentioned the 2 to 3 feet inside the end line of the end zone. Okay, we call that the baseline. And when you're on the plus 6 yard line, 3rd and goal, you're designing routes for 1 or 2 of your receivers to run the baseline. And then you're practicing with your quarterback what's called a top shelf throw. Those are top shelf throws. Okay, that ball's got to be up. The receiver is expecting the ball up. I mean, way up there. Okay, and guess what? What did Steve Logan request? I requested a 6'4" plus X receiver for just that purpose. The low red zone, what they call the tight red zone, low red zone. Let me back up. There are 3 general levels of red zone football when you're designing an offense. From the plus 30 to the plus 20. We call that the high red zone. From the 19-yard line to the 10-yard line, we call that the mid red zone. Okay, that's zone number 2. The low red zone ends from the 9-yard line to the goal line. That's the low red zone. And this is where, in fact, I was having a conversation with our staff today. Our head coach, Chris Redmond, played 9 years in the NFL. My wide receiver coach, Tony Banks, played 10 years in the NFL at quarterback. I told both those guys today, I said, I want you to get every playbook that you have ever had, and both those men, I think, played at 2 different franchises in their careers, so there should be 4 playbooks. I told them, I said, I want you to pull out the red zone offenses, okay, the library of plays that are in your New York City style phone book. Those, for you, folks that don't know, an NFL playbook is, if you're on YouTube, you can see what I'm doing. I'm holding my hands about 6 inches, about 4 to 6 inches apart. An NFL playbook is literally a New York City phone book, millions of football plays. But anyway, I told both of my guys, I said, I want you to pull out the red zone sections in your playbook and send them to me. Because when you get into the low red zone, you run what's called boutique football plays. What does that mean? That means these plays don't necessarily have a thread of connection to your offense. They exist because they are built to exist only in a very confined area. When you're on the plus 4 yard line and you're trying to complete a pass, you only have 14 yards of vertical grass available to you. So let's back up a minute. When you're learning how to throw a football, you learn very quickly there are 2 ways to put a defender in conflict. You can put him in a vertical conflict by having a receiver deep and another shallow, and then letting that man tell you which receiver to throw to. That's a vertical stretch. In the meantime, the other way you can put a defender in conflict is to put a receiver to the right of him and a receiver to the left of him, and let that defender tell you which way to throw the football. That's called a horizontal stretch. In the low red zone, the only thing available is horizontal passing game. Okay, you have to space your receivers, and it is confined. It's very hard to complete passes down there. Back to the original question, Coach. What are we looking for? The end line of the end zone. I need a 6'4" receiver at X. The other wide receiver, let's say to the right of the quarterback, I need somebody that can take the top off the coverage. So I need somebody with legit top-end speed. This is where your 4-4 receiver goes. He may not be a great route runner, but he has great linear speed. And he's going to be your post route, takeoff route, and clearing route type of guy to get other people open for you. Your slot receiver, this is my wish list. Hopefully he is 6 feet or less. I don't want him any taller than 6 feet, unless he's a unicorn. You know, most guys over 6 feet are not able to get out of their routes really quickly. Your slot receiver really needs to be able to get out of a route and execute all of your option routes. That's what slot receivers, ideally, are built to do. And then that gets you to your tight end, and you have to decide when you get to the tight end area, do you value a blocker more than a pass receiver? If he can do both, bingo, you just hit a grand slam, okay? But normally you have to compromise maybe some blocking ability for a good receiving tight end, or vice versa. You have to, give up some receiving abilities to get that kid in there that can actually block Julius Peppers by himself, because there are times that tight ends find themselves in that situation. So, that's your rundown on, what you were speaking to about, the receiving core. And it is true in today's, the way the game is evolving, particularly at the collegiate level. You were speaking about throwing the ball behind the linebackers, the old BYU West Coast offense. And I mentioned this on my show during the football season relative to East Carolina's offense. What that route you're talking about that comes behind the linebackers in that 12 to 16 yard area it's called a basic end cut. Okay, so if you said to a football coach, do you run many basic routes? A basic route is understood to be the end cut. All right, and that route at the collegiate level has become almost extinct. Very few people are doing it. And the game at the collegiate level has turned into quite the horizontal passing game. People are throwing the ball sideways as much as they're throwing it down the field, which is fine. They're doing it in the NFL too. But the passing games at the collegiate level have become not what I would call sophisticated, but they're effective, because when they see somebody in man coverage, they're throwing that takeoff route. In the meantime, if they see some zone coverages out there, they're throwing horizontal, sideways bubble routes and trying to create some space for good athletes to go make an explosion play for them, and it works. It does work. But in the NFL, they're doing some of that, but they will attack the middle of the football field, preferably and routinely. And I will be coaching this spring, and I will be throwing the football to the inside of the football field, preferably and routinely. I promise you I will. Oh, Lordy. So there's that. All right. So, real quickly, some one-off stuff. Let me see. We got Philip. Before the show, I want to make sure to get to this. Oh, wait. I want to back up, because I had a tweet that I wanted to get to that a young man tweeted in here, if I can find it. Okay, so here it is. Travis Barkley says to me, "Hey, Coach, when calling plays on the headset, is there any other coaching or instructions being given to the quarterback, or is it strictly the play call?" That's a good question, okay? All right, so I've been on the headsets at Tampa Bay. At Tampa Bay, it was a kind of a unique little 3 years for me. I went to Tampa Bay as a quarterback coach, and through contractual hell, I ended up coaching the running backs, which was a wonderful experience for me, okay, because I've always ever been a quarterback coach. But anyway, I coached running backs for 3 years, and I got to take a deep dive into protections. And believe me, you talk about a PhD. For 3 years, that's all I did, is help set the protections at the NFL level, every blitz known to man. But the point is this. When you're going what's called coach to quarterback communications, which at the professional level, whether it be NFL Europe, which I was in, where I was the quarterback coach play caller, or in the Birmingham franchise, which eventually became the UFL, we had coach-to-quarterback communications, and I could call the play directly to the quarterback. Steve Logan was not the kind of guy to call a play and then begin to yak into the quarterback's ear beyond the play call. In the meantime, when I was at Tampa, and the offensive coordinator and quarterback coach that I was working under on game day, there would be a play call and a lot of extra information would come in. And some of that is, you may have the quarterback at Tampa Bay we had at the time, Josh Freeman. He was fine with that extra information coming in. Let's back up. Steve Logan calling plays coach to quarterback into the headset. If we got anywhere near the high red zone, 30-yard line, 28-yard line, first down, second down, third down in particular, I would call a pass play 3rd and 7 at the plus 28, and I would call, let's go, trips right, 76, F sword, halfback option, ready break. I'd call that play into my quarterback, okay, let's go, trips right, 76, F sword, halfback option, no sacks, no sacks. I would say that into his ear because we had already field position wise secured the field goal opportunity. One of the things that you should look for when you're watching a football game casually as a fan is an offense that gets to the plus 30 and you've got that third down call. If your quarterback takes a sack there, I used to kid my quarterbacks. I told them, I said, I'm going to take a deer rifle to the press box. And if you take a sack at the plus 30-yard line, you won't even make it off the field. I'm going to shoot you right in the kneecap. Okay? It's like, this is, it's a cardinal sin. Okay? It's a cardinal sin to start at your minus 20-yard line and execute a 6-8, 10-play drive. You've struggled down the football field. You've gotten to the 28-yard line. 3rd down, 6. They blitz you, the protection doesn't hold up, the quarterback starts running backwards, and he's sacked back around the 38-yard line. And suddenly the 42-yard field goal you had achieved, the attempt at 42 yards, which is basically the 28-yard line. Okay, suddenly now it becomes a 56-yard field goal. You may not even have a kicker that can go out on a 56-yard field goal. It's the kiss of death. So to answer the question, I've seen it done both ways where a quarterback play caller over the headset gives a lot of information to the quarterback. I was never that way. Okay? A side note, I was on the phone today with management of the UFL, and I was going through exactly these discussions, and I said, we will have quarterback to coach to quarterback communications. Absolutely, coach. Yes, we will. I will be able to go to the press box and go coach to quarterback. In the NFL, I don't think you can do that. When I was with the 49ers, you could not go coach to quarterback from the press box. The offensive coordinator at the San Francisco 49ers gave me the play, and then I gave the play to the quarterback at the San Francisco 49ers, which is incredibly clumsy. But anyway, in the UFL, I will be able to call the plays from the press box directly to the quarterback, and this was given information to me today. They may experiment with putting communication devices in the wide receivers' helmets. Now, I can see that happening because these spring league in NFL Europe, we had some unusual rules that the NFL put in to use us as lab rats and see how it worked out. And some of those were adopted into the NFL. The kickoff rule, the way that the NFL is kicking off now, that came out of spring league football. They experimented with that there first, and it was adopted into the NFL. And so I think there's another lab rat situation I'm walking into where all of my wide receivers may have coached quarterback communications with me. I really don't know how I feel about that. And I don't know what I'm going to do with it if it is, in fact, something that's going to happen. I want my players playing free and fast. And it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting, and I'll keep everybody updated on where that goes. So anyway, hear a little bit of blues creeping in. When we get back, we're going to shift gears, and we're going to go and talk about the NFC and AFC championships, and also Coach Pilkington has a question for me relative to some activity he saw in the coaching industry relative to John Harbaugh taking the Giants job. When we get back, we'll talk about all that. Y'all stay tuned.
Have you been to Jaggers on Memorial Drive yet? I'm a regular at Jaggers, and let me tell you, if you want fresh, not frozen, you need to come to Jaggers. Burgers, chicken sandwiches, all sorts of salads, and the shoestring fries. Oh, I love those shoestring fries. My favorite is the Berry Fresh Grilled Chicken Salad, one of the best salads I've ever had. My grandkids love the burgers and fries and the chicken tenders with the awesome honey mustard and ranch. Everything is fresh at Jaggers. They don't cut any corners. Jaggers on Memorial Drive in Greenville. Also now open in Fayetteville.
Sports teams win and lose. This is Rachel Davis with Advanced Mechanical. Make sure the winning team is on your side by joining our Comfort Club for maintenance on your HVAC system. Don't wait. Prepare now for rising temperatures by joining our Comfort Club. Give us a call today at 252-355-9191. That's 252-355-9191. Or visit our website, advancemechnc.com.
Your vehicle packs a load of safety features to protect you in an accident. At North Carolina Farm Bureau Insurance, it's our job to protect you just as well after an accident. With fast claim service from local agents, our auto coverage is a lot like an airbag. We hope you never need to use it, but we're right there and ready just in case you do. North Carolina Farm Bureau Insurance. Helping you is what we do best. North Carolina Farm Bureau Mutual Insurance Company, Farm Bureau Insurance of North Carolina, Inc., Southern Farm Bureau Life Insurance Company, and independent licensee of Blue Cross and Blue Shield Association.
In Greenville, contact your local Farm Bureau agent for a quote for your car, home, life, or your health. You'll be working with neighbors you can trust, people like Alan Hill or Tony Boyd. These agents are dedicated to protecting your family and your dreams. These Farm Bureau agents are knowledgeable in a wide range of insurance products, but they are also tuned in to the Greenville community. Again, contact Alan Hill or Tony Boyd today at Farm Bureau Insurance in Greenville, 252-756-3165. That's 252-756-3165.
Attention duck hunters. Greenville Marine Outdoor Shop just outside of Greenville is the premier shop for all your duck hunting supplies and is a Benelli, Stoger, and Franchi shotgun dealer. Greenville Marine Outdoor Shop carries the most sought-after duck loads such as Migra, Kent Fast Steel 2.0, Heavy Steel and Heavy Metal, Federal Black Cloud, Remington Nitro Steel and Hypersonic, Winchester Blindside and Royal Blue Steel, and chokes by Pattern Master and Carlson. They also carry green headgear decoys by Avery, Mojo Motorized Decoys, decoy weights and cord, ABC duck calls, Avery blinds, and reel grass. Greenville Marine has a great selection on banded waders, clothing, and much more. Everything you need for a successful duck hunt, all under one roof. So why go anywhere else? Head to Greenville Marine Outdoor Shop just outside of Greenville on Marine Drive beside Greenville Marine. Greenville Marine Outdoor Shop is open Monday through Friday, 8:30 to 5:30, and Saturday, 8:30 to 12:30. Everything you need for duck hunting at Greenville Marine Outdoor Shop.
Hey, Pirate fans, take a trip, consolidate debt, update your home. Whatever you're planning, a personal loan up to $5,000 can help. Coach Logan here from my friends at National Finance Company. With NFC, you can get cash now. Loans up to $5,000, same-day cash, and fixed monthly payments. If you need to borrow money, trust the company that has been helping Carolinians for more than 50 years. National Finance Company. Apply at any of their 24 North Carolina locations or at nfcmoney.com.
Coach Logan's in the zone. And now, so are you. Back into the Logan Zone. Brought to you by Bill Clark Homes, Greenville Utilities, and Bojangles. On 94.3 The Game and Talk 96.3.
Alrighty, welcome back in. Final drive of the Logan Zone here this conference championship weekend. Got about 10 minutes left in the show. And as most of you know, John Harbaugh has been hired to be the next head coach of the New York Giants. And Coach Logan, when a guy is hired, you expect him to clean house. When it comes to the coaches, he's going to bring in his coordinators, his assistants. What I think a lot of football fans that have never been in the industry don't realize, you clean house in more ways than just the coaches. John Harbaugh has fired the trainer and the training staff. He is going to bring in his staff that he worked with, I believe, at the Baltimore Ravens, but they just said his staff. And he also has fired the assistant general manager and director of football operations, who had been with the team for 27 years. So that goes all the way back to, obviously, the beginning of the Tom Coughlin era when he came over from the Jacksonville Jaguars. So, Coach, you need a good staff, but not just a coaching staff. You need everybody, don't you?
Yes, you do. And when you brought that up before the show, it just triggered, again, so many conversation points. When Coach Harbaugh, okay, or Steve Logan, you learn, if you got a brain, any kind of brain cells, you should be learning something basically kind of all the time. So let me just, again, everything triggers a war story. When I was, I think, 28 years old, something like that, I stumbled, just a long story, but I suddenly found myself as a head football coach at a junior college. And I walked into 4 men that all wanted that job, and I was required to retain those 4 men. I was required to retain the trainer. It was a junior college, so this wasn't, you didn't have the ability to just hire and fire willy-nilly and, the normal routine. So we go through the first year, and we have Game of Thrones every day in the football office. Every meeting was a Game of Thrones. Somebody, was rolling their eyes at the young punk head coach, that being me, because these men were all 45. I thought they were ancient. They were probably 42 to 45 years of age. And they had coached a lot of football. And I had only been in Division I 1 year at Oklahoma State University when this job was thrown into my lap. But one thing I've never lacked is confidence. And leadership rule number 1 is don't ever let anybody know you don't know what you're doing. And I'm good at that too. So anyway, the Game of Thrones I'm talking about. Well, that was expected, and I understood what was going on, and I dealt with it. And we proceeded to win 2 football games that first year, 2 out of 10. In the meantime, the biggest surprise that happened to little Stevie Logan was I found out that my trainer totally disdained me. And guess what? My football players figured out really quick that they could have any kind of injury. I'm talking about split ends, dandruff, hangnails, anything. And my trainer, I still remember his name, it scarred me, would hold them out of practice on Monday and hold them out of practice on Tuesday and hold them out of practice on Wednesday, and somewhere around Thursday, suddenly those kids started feeling a little bit better, and they'd come out to practice, and then we'd try to go play a football game, and we couldn't play dead in a cowboy movie. We'd have to call a fair catch just to get a shotgun center snap. Couldn't block anybody, couldn't tackle it. It was a complete debacle. In the meantime, I had a secretary that I walked into at Hutchinson Junior College. She had been there since dirt had been invented. Her main job was to protect her job. And when I asked her to do anything out of the ordinary, which happened to be anything, she would protest and bitch and moan and basically not get it done. Welcome to the NFL, Steve Logan. The next year, and by the way, over the summertime, I obviously released all 4 of the coaches because I had them at the end of their contract. I got to release all 4 of their coaches, of those coaches. I got to bring in 4 new coaches that I hired. And in the meantime, I went on 007 James Bond espionage and got the trainer fired. That was my main mission, to get that guy out of my program. I had never considered how damaging a trainer could be to a football program and the power that they wield. Because when a trainer said a kid is hurt, you got no recourse. You don't have any, you can't argue with them. You can, but you're going to lose it. And then very quickly you get into some legalities that can really get ugly. Okay? And I've already mentioned the secretary. What a secretary can do to throw bubble gum into the gears and slow everything down. Okay? And then let's talk about, when you get to the upper level, let's talk about your football operations guy, who's basically in charge of everything. Travel, food preparation, recruiting, setting up visits. It's a huge job. Okay. So all of a sudden, Philip, you're talking about John Harbaugh. You go, why in the world did he fire the secretaries? I just told you why. And certainly the training staff. Fast forward from my little experience at the second year at Hutchinson Junior College. Okay? Miraculously, and not quite surprisingly, I'm the coach of the year in the Jayhawk Junior College Conference. We came out of nowhere and won a whole bunch of football games. Got to the finals of our little playoff deal that they have in that league. Got beat, but we were there. Because we had what? An agreement about the vision, the agreement about the behavior, and my trainer that I hired was tough as a leather boot. He was old school, and Steve Logan had an old school soul, even though I was just 28 or whatever I was. I was raised in a culture of toughness. I played football in a culture of toughness, being the primo quality that must be exhibited was toughness, mentally, physically, and spiritually. Okay? And I had the good fortune of bringing a trainer in, and if they could walk, they were playing. And you have to have a trainer that understands the difference between hurt and injured. And Steve Logan will be the first to step up and tell you that if a man was injured, they didn't play. Never was I abusive. Never was my trainer abusive. But we took it right up to the edge so that we could be a mentally, physically, spiritually tough collective group of men called a football team. It's just the only way it can happen. So when you see that John Harbaugh's going to the New York Giants, it doesn't really matter what was there, quite honestly. You know, this is a veteran Super Bowl winning coach. He understands things about football that I don't even know exist, and I'm telling the truth about that because of his experience at the highest level for, what'd you say, Philip, 20 years? At the Ravens? Or whatever it was?
Who, for Harbaugh or for the guy he fired?
Yeah.
Oh,
for Harbaugh.
He had been there since 2008, Flacco's rookie year, so whatever that'd be, 17 years.
There you go. I mean, that's, 17 years as a head coach. So he's got all kinds of battle scars, and he knows what he needs to know. So you walk into the New York Giant building, and guys, I appreciate everything you've done, but we're bringing in our own group. And so at least you can get off the first day, the first step, and everybody is in agreement about how this culture is going to behave, from the head coach to the coordinators to the position coaches to the secretaries. Okay, I'll tell you something else about secretaries. You get a secretary that can't keep her or his information close to the vest, they can absolutely destroy your program by speaking out in the community, talking to the press, even inadvertently. They have got to have really great discernment and discipline about who they talk to, when they talk to, why they talk to, and what they're talking about. They just can't be talking about it. There has to be one voice come out of that building. Certainly when you're the head coach of the New York Giants. Can you imagine dealing with the New York press daily? Welcome to hell, buddy. So it's all got to be buttoned up. It's all got to be tight. And there just can't be any mistakes about, oh, I shouldn't have said that, and I shouldn't have done this, and so on and so forth. All right, here comes the Blues, and we didn't even get to talk football. That's okay. Real quick, NFC Championship. New England, averaging 28 points a game, giving up 18. Drake May, one of the top drawer quarterbacks in the league, playing the Denver Broncos without their starting quarterback, Bo Nix. New England's a 4-point favorite on the road. I think it'll probably end up that way, but don't discount Sean Payton. He's a hell of a football coach. Over in the AFC, I believe this is the Super Bowl that's going to be played between the Rams and the Seahawks, because they're going to beat whoever's on the other side of that draw, being New England or the Broncos. This is me talking like I know what I'm talking about. And I don't, because anything can happen in a football game. I'm just giving you an opinion. But the Rams offense right now scoring 30 points a game. Boys, let me tell you something. You scoring 30 points a game in any kind of pro football, you're humming. They're humming. Giving up 20 points a game. In the meantime, the Seahawks, head coach Mike McDonald, a defensive genius. The Seattle Seahawks defense is absolutely frightening. Call the San Francisco 49ers. Let them give you their opinion of the Seahawk defense. That's a 2-point football game, and for the life of me, I can't tell you who's going to win it.
They're great around the holidays and every other day, but they all leave behind grease when you cook them, and grease is a real pain in the drain.